Okay, so hopefully you were able to kind of check out this graph. It starts at 7.7 billion, and then we said what was our rate of change before. So you can go back to whatever you had before. It was a 1.1% change each year. So let's put in a 1.1% change. Could even be super accurate. I think it was 1.16. And play around. And what does that mean? That in 2030, there will be 8.74 billion people. So is that kind of close to what we said before? Yeah, 8.7 billion people. Yeah, so the graph, let's write something here. Shows there will be about 8.7 billion people in 2030. And you can edit your response too. So if I wanted to add to it, go back later, I can add to this. I can say based on a 1.1% change each year. Okay, let me go ahead. So now let's look ahead to the next century, 100 years from now. If assuming the population continues to grow at this rate of 1.1%, how many people do you expect there will be at the end of the next century, in the year 2120? What might be some consequences, positive or negative, of this change? So go ahead and see if you can figure that out. Do a little bit of math and calculate it. And I'll pause the video and come back. We can kind of share our responses with each other. Okay, so what did you think? Again, growing at a rate of 1.1%. How many people will there be in the year 2021, but 2120? Well, let's see. I grab my calculator again. Let's see. So 7.7 billion in 2019 times 1.011 to the power of, we're talking about 100 years from now, but from 2019, maybe we could call that 101 years. And it looks like there will be, math in here again, 23.2, call it 23.2 billion people in the world. So now we've gone from 7 billion to 8 billion to 23 billion if we keep growing at this rate of 1.1%. Does that sound crazy to you? I mean, 23 billion people. That means that for every person, for every person in the world today, we could basically triple them. What might be some consequences of that, positive or negative? I don't know. I'm curious what you said. Um, and I'll look at these responses later and hopefully get some insight into what you guys, how this went and what you were thinking. Um, I don't know. That's a lot of people. It's kind of what I'm thinking. I probably won't be around then, but you will, 100 years from now. Well, okay, maybe not 100 years from now, but sometime between now and then, you'll see this happening if it actually continues to grow like this. I don't know what will happen. the quality of life for those 23 billion people be better or worse than it is today? Who knows? Okay, let me go to the next screen here. So use the following link to explore another interactive graph showing the growth of the population over the next century. So here we've got another graph. Again, let me know if this doesn't work. Kind of stealing from their website a little bit. But it's all free math, just Desmos. Let's put myself up here. And so now we can see this curve happening with this rate of change of 1.1%, starting at 7.7 billion. And as we go up, we can see the population of the world increasing until 100 years from now. Looks like we're at around 23 billion people. So how does that compare to our previous answer? Well, let me see. Let me go back a little bit. We said there were going to be about 23 billion people. Yeah, so the graph shows it will be about 23 billion people in the next 100 years. Let me move myself back down here. So this next bit is going to be talking about the environmental effects on the planet. What does that do? What does that mean for the planet? Over the past century, inventions like electricity and cars have improved the life for billions of people. Today, fewer people live in poverty than ever before. But to power that industrialization, countries have relied mostly on burning coal, oil, and gas, which releases carbon dioxide into the air. Why don't you watch this short video? It's about 4 minutes long, and then come back and answer this question. I'm going to pause the video now so that you can watch that. See if you can answer this question, and then we'll come back and compare notes. Okay, so I've watched the video. Hopefully you have too. Let's see if we can answer this question. Or how did you think about this? So in 2019, over 410 of every 1 million particles in the atmosphere are CO2. If this number reaches 500, some scientists believe it could be catastrophic. If the level of CO2 continues to increase by an average 0.7% each year, when might this happen? And how many people in the world would be affected? So we can do a little bit more math here. So in 2019, there were 410 of every 1 million particles. We'll say there's 410 particles per cubic, whatever, million, wherever a million particles is, of CO2 in the air. And that's increasing by an average rate of 0.7% each year. So we're going to multiply that by 0. Something. It's an increase of 0.7%. That would be 1.0. See, this would be 1%. So 0.7 would be an increase of 0.7%. If we increase it by that much each year, we can ask, when is this going to reach 500? Will it be 10 years from now? Will it be 20 years from now? Looks like pretty close to 30 years. Maybe 29, if we want to be super precise. 28. Somewhere around 28 or 29 years. It'll hit 500, which I think is just like an arbitrary benchmark, but obviously these scientists believe that that is a significant number. So we could say based on an increase of 0.7% each year, CO2 level will reach 500 particles per million or something like that. We'll just say it will reach 500 in 29 years. Or we could round it. We could always say 30 years from now. We'll say roughly 30 years. I can provide a little bit of an explanation for that if I want to. I can copy this math over here and paste it down here. Paste it into here. 501. 2. So we said about, I guess we'll be accurate here, 29 years. So how many people will there be on the planet in 29 years? Well, we can go back and kind of like look at our graph here. Let's see, in 29 years, let's go back to 0. How many people will there be? There'll be about 10 and a half billion people on the planet. So there will be about 10 and a half billion people who will have to deal with whatever kind of potentially catastrophic changes to the environment that will affect. And you guys will be around then. So will I. Alright, this is our second to last screen. There's another video talking about the two different worlds that are currently on the planet. While humans share one planet, countries are organized into two different worlds. Countries are either in the developed world, which has been industrialized over the past 300 years, or they're in the developing world and they're still industrializing now. So over the next century, most new population growth will come from these developing countries. Watch the video. It talks about Bangladesh and how they are struggling to work with both a crazy increase in population growth as well as the climate change. They're one of the hot spots. So go ahead, watch it, write some comments. What do you think? And come back later. Okay, so kind of curious. What did you say about this? It was quite an interesting video. Here's what I wrote. Let's see. So as the world population continues to grow, what are some challenges you envision, and how do you think developing countries can improve their standard of living while ensuring a healthy climate? I wrote that I can see the economic versus environmental push and pull being a challenge for these countries to try and balance. Ultimately, it seems like the faster they can produce and or buy modern renewable alternatives for energy, the better they will be able to do on both fronts. It's definitely it's a modern challenge for the whole world to face. All right, last but not least, I want you to send me some feedback on this. I guess my first attempt at a distance learning lesson. It's kind of weird. I know it's totally not what we normally do. But give me some feedback. How can I help you in the future? What did you actually enjoy about this lesson? What struggles did you have getting through it? Whether those were on your own or with me here. Tell me your thoughts. We'll change things up as we go along and try to, make it through the rest of this year together while still learning something new. I appreciate those of you who watched this, for taking the time, and I'll see you guys later. Okay, bye.